The conference room door was glass, so I could see everything. My sister Vanessa sat across from our boss, Ms. Reynolds, presenting my Henderson project like she'd built it herself. I watched her smile, gesturing confidently at slides I'd created during 3 months of 16-hour days. At 39 years old with 15 years in software development, I'd learned to recognize theft when I saw it. But this wasn't a stranger stealing my work. This was my sister. The same sister I'd supported financially for 2 years after her divorce. The same sister I'd referred to this company when she couldn't find work. The same sister who'd cried in my apartment 6 months ago, begging me to help her look good in front of management. "Just let me present your technical work," she'd said. "I'm better with people. You're too quiet. We'll both benefit." I'd believed her. I'd trusted family. Now she was claiming my entire $800,000 project as hers. My phone buzzed. A calendar reminder, Henderson client call, 10:15 a.m. My stomach dropped. The client would ask technical questions. Vanessa couldn't answer them. She didn't even know what anomaly detection meant. This was about to get very interesting. I'd arrived at the office at 6:30 that morning to find 3 missed calls from Ms. Reynolds. That wasn't normal. My heart had sunk immediately. Walking past Vanessa's desk, I'd seen the Henderson folder, my work, fully printed and professionally bound, sitting there like a trophy she'd won. She'd smiled at me. "Morning, Lauren. Big day today." Big day. She had no idea how big. I'd spent the previous night backing up every email, every code commit, every timestamp proving I'd built the Henderson system alone. Vanessa's contribution. She'd attended 2 client dinners and sent 3 emails asking me for status updates. That was it. But she had something I didn't. Charisma. She was younger, prettier, more confident in meetings. At 42, she'd mastered the art of looking competent without actually being competent. And for 6 months, I'd enabled it. I'd let her present my work because she'd convinced me I was too technical for clients. Because she convinced me that family helped family. Because after 15 years of brilliant work being overlooked, I'd wanted someone in my corner. I just didn't realize she'd stab me in the back. The phone rang at exactly 10:15. Through the glass, I watched Vanessa answer it on speaker. "Good morning, Mr. Henderson. Thank you for taking the time." Henderson's voice was crisp, businesslike. "I've reviewed the documentation your team sent. Very impressive. But I have some technical questions before we proceed to implementation." Vanessa's smile tightened slightly. "Of course. I'm happy to clarify anything." "Excellent. Let's start with the anomaly detection module. Can you walk me through the algorithmic approach you used for threshold determination?" Silence. Vanessa's face went pale. She glanced at her notes that contained only high-level talking points I'd written for her. Nothing about algorithms. Nothing about thresholds. Nothing about the actual architecture. "Well," she stammered, "the approach was comprehensive. We used industry best practices to ensure." Henderson interrupted, his tone sharpening. "I'm not asking about best practices. I'm asking about your specific implementation. What statistical model did you use?" Vanessa's mouth opened. No sound came out. Ms. Reynolds frowned, leaning forward. That's when I stood up. My hands were steady as I grabbed my laptop. This was it. The moment I'd been simultaneously dreading and hoping for. I walked to the conference room door and knocked. Ms. Reynolds looked surprised when I entered, but I kept my focus on the speakerphone. "Mr. Henderson, this is Lauren. I'm the lead developer on the Henderson project. I can answer your technical questions." There was a pause. Then Henderson's voice brightened. "Lauren? Yes, your name is all over the technical documentation. I was hoping to speak with you directly." Vanessa's face drained completely of color. I opened my laptop, pulling up the system architecture diagrams. The anomaly detection uses a hybrid approach, Gaussian mixture models for normal behavior baseline, combined with isolation forest algorithms for outlier detection. We set adaptive thresholds based on historical data variance, with a 9 to 5% confidence interval to minimize false positives. Henderson's enthusiasm was immediate. "Exactly. That's what I wanted to understand." The documentation mentioned real-time adjustment. "How did you handle computational overhead?" For the next 20 minutes, I walked him through every technical decision. The database schema, the API architecture, the testing methodology, the scalability considerations. Every answer was precise, detailed, confident. Because I'd built it. Every single line of code. Vanessa sat frozen, her earlier confidence shattered. Ms. Reynolds' expression shifted from confusion to understanding to something harder. Anger, perhaps. Or disappointment. When the call ended, Henderson's final words hung in the air. Lauren, exceptional work. I'll be in touch directly with you moving forward. The silence after Henderson hung up was crushing. Vanessa stared at the table, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Ms. Reynolds closed her notebook slowly, her jaw tight. Vanessa, step outside please. Lauren, stay. My sister left without a word, her professional mask finally cracked. When the door closed, Ms. Reynolds turned to me with an expression I'd never seen before. How long has this been going on? I could have lied. I could have minimized. But I was done protecting Vanessa. 6 months. The Henderson project is entirely mine. Vanessa has presented 3 of my projects as hers since January. I pulled out my laptop and showed her everything. The commit logs with my username and timestamps. The emails where Vanessa asked me basic questions about my own work. The Slack messages where she'd literally said, "Can you explain this system to me so I can present it tomorrow?" Ms. Reynolds' face hardened with each piece of evidence. Why didn't you report this sooner? Because she's my family, I said quietly. Because I trusted her when she said we'd both benefit. Because I believed her when she said I was too quiet for client meetings. Ms. Reynolds leaned back. Lauren, you're one of the most talented developers in this company. Your technical skills are extraordinary. But you let someone take credit for $800,000 worth of client work. I know, I said. That ends today. Ms. Reynolds nodded slowly. Yes, it does. I need a full written report of every project Vanessa has misrepresented. Every email, every timestamp, every piece of evidence. I want it by tomorrow morning. I nodded. You'll have it. And Lauren? She looked at me directly. The Henderson client specifically requested you. Not your team. Not our company. You. That tells me everything I need to know about who actually did the work. I left the conference room feeling lighter than I had in months. Vanessa was waiting by my desk, her eyes red. Lauren, please. Let me explain. Explain what? I kept my voice calm, professional. Explain how you claimed my work. Explain how you couldn't answer basic questions about a system I spent 3 months building. Explain how you've been lying to our boss for 6 months. I was trying to help us both, she whispered. Help! I almost laughed. Vanessa, you made $95,000 this year. I made $68,000. You got promoted twice on my projects. You got the corner office, the performance bonuses, the client appreciation dinners. What exactly did I get? She had no answer. I gave you a place to stay when you got divorced, she said desperately. I referred you to this company. I helped you. You charged me rent. I interrupted. $800 a month for your spare bedroom while you lived in a condo I helped you buy. And yes, you referred me. Then you spent 2 years stealing my work. That evening, I sat in my small apartment, the one I'd barely been able to afford while helping Vanessa with her mortgage, and compiled the evidence. Every project she'd claimed. Every line of code I'd written. Every client presentation where she'd taken credit for my innovations. Project Aurora, $60,000, 100% my work. Vanessa's contribution, attended kickoff meeting. Project Falcon, $120,000, entirely my architecture and implementation. Vanessa's contribution, sent weekly status emails I wrote for her. Project Henderson, $800,000, 3 months of my life. Vanessa's contribution, smiled during client dinners. Total value of stolen work, $1.2 million over 18 months. My salary in that time, $102,000. Vanessa's salary plus bonuses, $178,000. She'd made $76,000 more than me by presenting my work as hers. I created a spreadsheet with every detail, every timestamp, every commit, every email. By midnight, I had a 40-page document that would end Vanessa's career at this company. I felt no guilt. Only cold, clear certainty. At 39 years old, I was done being invisible. Done being the quiet technical genius in the background while others took the spotlight. Done sacrificing for family who saw me as a resource to exploit. The next morning, I submitted the report to Ms. Reynolds at 8 a.m. sharp. She read it in her office while I waited, her expression growing darker with each page. Jesus Christ, she muttered, reaching the financial summary. She made an extra $7,000 to $6,000 presenting your work. Yes. And you have documentation for all of this. I opened my laptop. Every claim is backed by commit logs, emails, or Slack messages. It's all time-stamped and verifiable. Ms. Reynolds closed the report. Lauren, I need to loop in HR and legal. This is potentially fraud, misrepresentation to clients, false performance claims for bonuses. You understand this will likely result in Vanessa's termination. I understand. She's your sister. She was my sister, I corrected. Now she's a colleague who committed fraud. Those are separate things. Ms. Reynolds studied me for a long moment. You've changed since yesterday. More confident. Yesterday I was trying to protect someone who didn't deserve protection, I said. Today I'm protecting my career, my reputation, and my integrity. That's not confidence. That's self-respect. She smiled slightly. HR will contact you this afternoon. In the meantime, Henderson requested a follow-up call with you specifically. Are you comfortable handling that alone? Absolutely. Good. Because he also mentioned recommending you to 3 other clients. Apparently, your technical explanation yesterday impressed him more than any consultant he's worked with. The Henderson follow-up call was scheduled for 2 p.m. I spent the morning preparing detailed documentation of the implementation timeline, testing results, and scalability projections. At 1:45, my phone rang. It was Vanessa, calling from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Lauren, please. HR just called me in. They're asking about projects from the past year. What did you tell them? The truth. The truth. Her voice cracked. You gave them evidence that makes me look like a fraud. You are a fraud, Vanessa. You claimed work you didn't do. You took bonuses for my projects. You lied to clients, to management, to me. I'm your sister, and I'm the person who supported you financially for 2 years, referred you to this job, and trusted you when you said we'd both benefit from you presenting my work. You exploited that trust systematically. Silence. Then, quietly, they're going to fire me. Probably. I'll lose everything. The condo, my reputation, my career in this industry. You built all of that on stolen work, I said. If it falls apart, that's not because I told the truth. It's because you built your life on lies. She started crying. I felt nothing. Vanessa, I need to go. I have a client call. I hung up and blocked the number. At exactly 2 o'clock, I dialed Henderson's direct line. Lauren. Henderson answered warmly. Thank you for making time. I wanted to discuss expansion possibilities. For the next hour, we talked about extending the anomaly detection system to 3 additional data streams. Henderson was technical enough to understand the complexity, business-minded enough to appreciate the value. What's your timeline capacity? He asked. With dedicated resources, I could have a prototype in 6 weeks, full implementation in 4 months. And you'd be the lead architect. Yes. I don't delegate my core technical work. He laughed. That's refreshing. Most consultants I work with are great presenters who couldn't write a line of code to save their lives. I've noticed that pattern, I said carefully. Yesterday's call was illuminating, Henderson continued. Your colleague seemed knowledgeable in the initial meetings, but couldn't answer basic questions about her own system. That's a red flag. The system isn't hers, I said clearly. It's mine. Every technical decision, every line of code, every architectural choice was my work. Silence. Then, I suspected as much. Your documentation was too detailed, too precise. It read like someone who'd built the system from scratch, not someone managing a team. I wasn't managing a team. I was being managed by someone taking credit. Well, Henderson said, that ends now. I'm contracting directly with you for all future work. Whatever political issues exist at your company, I don't care. I want the person who actually does the work. After the call ended, I sat at my desk feeling a shift I'd never experienced before. Power. Real, undeniable professional power that came from competence and credibility, not politics or charm. Vanessa had spent 2 years climbing the corporate ladder on my shoulders. One client question had kicked the ladder out from under her. Ms. Reynolds appeared at my desk. HR wants to see you at 4 o'clock. Just routine questions about the projects. At 4 o'clock, I sat across from 2 HR representatives and a company lawyer. They asked detailed questions about each project Vanessa had claimed. I answered with timestamps, evidence, and calm precision. Did she ever explicitly tell you she would present your work as entirely hers? The lawyer asked. She said we'd both benefit from her presenting. She claimed she was better with clients, that I was too technical. She convinced me that her presenting was strategic, not theft. But she received bonuses for work you did? Yes. 3 performance bonuses totaling $42,000 for projects I built alone. The HR director wrote something down. And you have evidence she couldn't actually explain the technical work. She couldn't answer Henderson's basic questions yesterday. The client specifically requested to speak with me instead. That's documented in the call recording. They exchanged glances. Lauren, we're conducting a formal investigation. Vanessa has been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome. This conversation is confidential. I nodded. Understood. That night, my phone exploded with messages from Vanessa's number, her friends, even our aunt whom I hadn't spoken to in years. All of them saying the same thing. How could you do this to family? I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I opened my laptop and did something I'd been too afraid to do for 15 years. I updated my LinkedIn profile. Not just with my job title, but with specific accomplishments. Lead architect for Henderson Analytics Platform, $800,000 project delivering real-time anomaly detection across enterprise data systems. Designer and developer of Aurora Client Portal, reduced processing time by 67% through optimized database architecture. Creator of Falcon Integration System, seamless API connection across legacy platforms, serving 50,000 plus daily users. Every project I'd built and never claimed. Every innovation I'd created and let others present. All of it, finally, attached to my name. Within an hour, I had 3 connection requests from recruiters. By morning, I had 2 interview requests from companies offering senior architect positions. One of them listed a salary, $140,000. More than double what I currently made. More than Vanessa had made stealing my work. I stayed at that number, thinking about 15 years of being underpaid, overlooked, and exploited. Then I scheduled both interviews. The investigation took 1 week. During that time, Vanessa wasn't allowed in the office. I worked in peaceful silence, finally able to focus without watching her take credit for my ideas in real time. Henderson signed the contract for the expansion project, $1.4 million over 8 months. The contract specified me by name as lead architect, with final authority over all technical decisions. Ms. Reynolds called me into her office on Friday afternoon. The investigation is complete. The evidence is conclusive. Vanessa systematically misrepresented your work as hers, resulting in fraudulent performance reviews and unearned bonuses. What happens now? She's been terminated effective immediately. We're requiring repayment of the $42,000 in fraudulent bonuses, though we expect she'll lawyer up rather than pay. Ms. Reynolds paused. We also need to discuss your position here. My stomach tightened. Was I in trouble too? Lauren, you're one of the most talented developers we have, but you've been dramatically underpaid and under-recognized because you let someone else take credit. That's partially our failure. We should have looked deeper. But it's also yours for not speaking up sooner. I understand. We're restructuring the development team. I'm creating a new position, lead technical architect, reporting directly to me. Salary is $125,000, plus performance bonuses tied to actual project delivery. The position is yours if you want it. $125,000, nearly double my current salary, plus bonuses that would actually reflect my work. I want it, I said. Ms. Reynolds smiled. Good. We're announcing Monday. But Lauren, I need something from you. Complete transparency. If you're building it, you claim it. If someone tries to take credit, you report it immediately. No more silent martyrdom. Agreed. And one more thing. Henderson specifically requested you present at the industry conference next month. He wants you explaining the technical architecture to potential clients. Are you comfortable with that? For years, Vanessa had told me I was too boring to present, too technical, too quiet. I'd believed her. But yesterday, I'd spent an hour explaining complex algorithms to Henderson, and he'd called it the best technical presentation he'd heard. I'm comfortable, I said. That weekend, I went apartment hunting. Something better than the tiny studio I'd been living in while helping Vanessa pay her mortgage. I found a beautiful one-bedroom with space for a home office, walking distance from work. The rent was $800 more than my current place. 2 months ago, that would have been impossible. Now, with my new salary, it was comfortable. I signed the lease on Sunday. On Monday morning, I arrived at work to find the entire development team gathered in the main conference room. Ms. Reynolds called the meeting to order. I have an important announcement regarding team restructuring. Effective today, we're creating the position of lead technical architect. This role will oversee all major client projects, make final technical decisions, and serve as our primary technical liaison with enterprise clients. She paused, looking directly at me. Lauren, would you please stand? I stood, feeling every eye in the room turn toward me. Lauren has been the invisible force behind our most successful projects for the past 2 years. The Henderson platform, the Aurora portal, the Falcon integration, all of it was her architecture, her code, her innovation. She's been doing lead architect work while being paid and credited as a junior developer. That ends today. Applause fills the room. Some colleagues looked surprised. Others were nodding like this confirmed what they'd suspected. Lauren is our new lead technical architect. She'll be taking point on all enterprise projects moving forward, starting with the Henderson expansion. After the meeting, colleagues I'd barely spoken to came up with congratulations. I always wondered who actually built those systems, one said. Vanessa could never answer detailed questions. Another whispered, good riddance to her. Honestly, she was all talk. By lunch, the whole company knew. Vanessa had been fired for taking credit for my work. I'd been promoted for actually doing it. The office gossip was relentless but accurate. That afternoon, I received an email from one of the recruiters who'd contacted me on LinkedIn. I saw your promotion announcement. Congratulations. If you're ever interested in exploring opportunities, we have a VP of engineering role at a major tech company. Salary range, $180,000 to $220,000. I saved the email. Not because I was ready to leave, I'd just been promoted, but because knowing my market value changed everything. I was no longer desperate or invisible. I was in demand. Henderson called Tuesday morning. Lauren, I've been talking to some colleagues about your anomaly detection system. 3 of them want similar implementations. Are you interested in consulting independently? What kind of timeline are we discussing? Each project would be roughly 6 months, around $800,000 per contract. If you did all 3, that's $2.4 million in revenue. At a 30% consultant fee, you'd make over $700,000. My breath caught. $700,000. In 1 year. More than I'd made in the past decade combined. That's assuming you could do the work independently, Henderson continued. Could you? Yes, I said without hesitation. I built the entire Henderson system alone. I can replicate that process. Then I'll make the introductions. Think about it. I thought about it for exactly 10 minutes. Then I scheduled a meeting with Ms. Reynolds. If I was valuable enough for outside companies to pay me $700,000, I needed to be compensated appropriately here. Oh, I needed to leave. Ms. Reynolds listened as I explained the consulting opportunity. I didn't threaten. I simply laid out the facts. I had marketable skills, proven project success, and multiple companies willing to pay significantly more for my work. What do you want, Lauren? She asked. I want to stay here. I like the work. I like the team I'm building. But I need to be compensated fairly for the value I bring. The consulting opportunity is $700,000. I'm not asking for that. But I am asking for fair market rate for a lead architect handling multimillion-dollar projects. She didn't hesitate. I'll talk to the board. Give me 48 hours. 2 days later, she called me back. The board approved a salary adjustment to $165,000 plus 20% of all project bonuses you generate. Given Henderson's expansion, that puts your total compensation around $230,000 this year. I did the math quickly. $230,000. 4 times what I'd made last year while Vanessa stole my credit. I accept. Good. Because we also want to give you equity. 0.5% of the company, vesting over 4 years. At our current valuation, that's worth approximately $400,000. I stared at her. You're giving me equity. You've generated over $3 million in client contracts in the past year. You're not an employee anymore, Lauren. You're an asset. We need you invested in the company's success. That evening, I did something I'd never done before. I called my mother. We hadn't spoken in months. She'd always favored Vanessa, the pretty one, the charming one, the one who seemed successful. Lauren. What a surprise, Mom said. I heard you got a promotion. Vanessa mentioned it. Vanessa was fired, Mom, for stealing my work. Silence. What are you talking about? I explained everything. The projects she'd claimed. The bonuses she'd received. The systematic fraud. The investigation. The termination. She called me crying, Mom said slowly. She said you sabotaged her out of jealousy. That you couldn't handle her success. Her success was built on my work. I have documentation proving every project she claimed was actually mine. The company investigated and agreed. That's why she was fired. More silence. Then, quietly, I never realized. She always made it sound like she was helping you, mentoring you. She was exploiting me, and I let her because she convinced me I wasn't good enough to get credit on my own. Oh, Lauren. Mom's voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I should have seen it. It's done now. I'm the lead technical architect. I'm being paid what I'm worth. And I'm never letting anyone take credit for my work again. Good, Mom said firmly. You're brilliant. You always have been. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. We talked for another hour. Really talked, for the first time in years. When I hung up, I felt something settle into place. Family wasn't about blind loyalty. It was about mutual respect. And if respect wasn't there, loyalty meant nothing. The industry conference was scheduled for 3 weeks later. I spent every evening preparing my presentation, building scalable anomaly detection systems for enterprise applications. Not a high-level overview. A deep technical dive into architecture, algorithms, and implementation. The audience would be senior developers and CTOs. My people. The morning of my presentation, I wore a navy suit Mom had bought me as a congratulations gift. Professional, confident, competent. The conference room held 200 people. As I walked to the podium, I saw Henderson in the 3rd row, smiling encouragingly. I opened with a technical problem, detecting anomalies in massive data streams with minimal false positives. Then I walked through my solution, step by step. The statistical models, the threshold algorithms, the database architecture, the API design. I spoke for 4 to 5 minutes. The audience was completely silent, absorbed. When I finished, the applause was immediate and genuine. During Q&A, a CTO from a Fortune 500 company raised his hand. Your approach is elegant. How long did it take you to build this? 3 months of full-time development. Solo implementation. His eyes widened. Solo. The complexity suggests a team of at least 5 developers. I work better alone, I said simply. No communication overhead, no integration issues, complete control over quality. After the presentation, I was surrounded by people wanting to discuss projects, ask technical questions, exchange business cards. Henderson appeared at my elbow. 3 companies want proposals. I told them you're the best in the business. The proposals came in over the next week. 3 enterprise clients, each requesting similar anomaly detection systems. Total contract value, $2.6 million. I could handle all three simultaneously if I built a core framework and customized it for each client. Estimated timeline: 9 months. Estimated revenue if I consulted independently: $800,000. Ms. Reynolds called me into her office. I heard about the conference and the proposals. Henderson's been talking. She smiled. He's also been talking to our board. He wants to formalize a partnership, Borgman Tech as his preferred technical vendor, with you as the lead architect on all projects. What does that mean practically? It means we'd be bidding on 20 to 30 million in contracts over the next 3 years. All of it specifying you as lead technical architect. I let that number sink in. $20 to $30 million in revenue, generated because clients trusted my technical expertise. What's your equity stake worth if we land those contracts? Ms. Reynolds asked. I did the quick math. Probably over $1 million. Exactly. So here's my question. Do you want to leave and consult independently for $800,000? Or stay here, take your equity, and build a department that makes you a millionaire in 4 years? I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. I want to build the department. Building the department meant hiring. I interviewed 27 developers over 2 weeks, looking for people like me. Brilliant. Overlooked. Tired of having their work stolen. I hired 5. 4 women and 1 man, all with impressive technical skills and stories of being underestimated. Our first team meeting established the culture. Every line of code you write gets credited to you. Every design decision you
make is documented under your name. If you build it, you own it. No exceptions. One developer, a woman named Priya who'd spent 10 years being overlooked, actually teared up. I've never worked anywhere that valued attribution. Attribution isn't a favor, I said. It's basic professional respect. You learn it here by doing excellent work. But once you've earned it, no one will take it from you. Over the next 3 months, my team delivered all 3 proposals Henderson had referred. Each project came in on time, under budget, and technically superior to client expectations. Word spread. By month 4, we had 6 new proposals. By month 6, we'd landed 4 of them. Revenue generated by my department in 6 months: $8.2 million. My compensation, including bonuses and equity appreciation, $412,000. More than I'd made in the previous 6 years combined. Vanessa tried to contact me twice. Once through LinkedIn, once through a mutual friend. Both times, the message was the same. She was sorry, she'd made mistakes, could we talk? I didn't respond. Sorry didn't rebuild trust. Changed behavior over years might eventually rebuild trust. But sorry, by itself, was just words. The mutual friend called me directly. Lauren, she's really struggling. She can't find work. Everyone in the industry knows what happened. Good, I said calmly. Fraud should have consequences. She's your sister. She was someone who shared my DNA and exploited me for 2 years. Being related doesn't grant immunity from consequences. That's cold. No, I corrected. Cold was stealing credit for my work while I struggled to pay rent. Cold was taking bonuses for projects I built while calling me too boring to deserve recognition. I'm not being cold. I'm being clear about boundaries. The friend hung up, disappointed in my lack of forgiveness. I didn't care. I'd spent 2 years prioritizing Vanessa's comfort over my own dignity. That ended the day Henderson asked his question. 6 months later, I spoke at another industry conference. This time, I was the keynote speaker. The topic: building high-performance technical teams through attribution and accountability. I opened the keynote with a story. 2 years ago, someone I trusted took credit for my work. Systematically, deliberately, repeatedly. I let it happen because I believed I was too technical, too boring, too quiet to deserve recognition. Then a client asked one simple question about the technical implementation. The person claiming credit couldn't answer. I could. That moment changed everything. I walked them through the whole story without naming Vanessa. The stolen projects. The fraudulent bonuses. The investigation. The termination. But here's what I learned. Credit theft only works if you let it. The moment you document your work, claim your contributions, and speak up when someone lies, the theft stops. Because competence is provable. Lies aren't. The audience of 300 technical professionals sat in complete silence. After my talk, dozens of people approached with similar stories. My manager claims my code as his. My colleague presents my designs to clients. My company gives me no credit for systems I built. To each one, I said the same thing: document everything. Every commit, every email, every timestamp. Build your receipts. Then when someone asks the technical question only you can answer, you speak up. That's not aggressive. It's honest. 1 year after Henderson's question, I was promoted again. Vice President of Technical Innovation. Salary: $215,000. Equity: increased to 2% of the company. Total compensation including bonuses: over $600,000. I was 39 years old. I had no college debt. I'd paid it off at 28. I had no family obligations. I'd stopped supporting people who exploited me. I had no mortgage yet, but I was shopping for houses in the $300,000 range, planning to pay cash. My team had grown to 12 developers. We'd delivered 14 major projects in 12 months, generating over $30 million in revenue. Every single developer on my team had their name on their work. Every commit logged. Every design credited. Every innovation attributed. Our retention rate was 100%. Our project success rate was 93%. Our client satisfaction was the highest in company history. Ms. Reynolds announced my promotion at the company-wide meeting. Lauren has fundamentally transformed our technical department. She's generated over $30 million in revenue, built a team that's the envy of the industry, and established a culture of excellence and attribution. She's not just our VP of Technical Innovation. She's the standard we should all aspire to. That evening, I sat in my new house, a beautiful 3-bedroom with a home office overlooking the mountains, and reflected on the journey. One question had changed everything. Can you walk me through the code structure you implemented for the anomaly detection feature? Vanessa couldn't answer it. I could. That simple moment had exposed 2 years of fraud and launched a career transformation I'd never imagined possible. I thought about the 39-year-old woman I'd been a year ago. Brilliant but invisible, competent but uncredited, valuable but exploited. I thought about the woman I was now, VP of a department I'd built, millionaire through equity I'd earned, leader of a team that respected attribution as much as innovation. The difference wasn't just money or title. It was agency. I'd spent 15 years letting other people define my value. 2 years letting my sister steal my credit. 1 year building a career on my own terms. I opened my laptop and composed an email to the conference organizer who'd invited me to keynote. I'd like to propose a workshop for next year's conference, Technical Attribution Systems, building teams where credit goes to the creator. I believe this is a critical issue in our industry. The response came within an hour. Accepted. We'll build the schedule around you. I smiled and closed my laptop. My work finally spoke for itself. And everyone was listening.